Well, I was in my kitchen where I spent a lot of time and I found an old food container that I rinsed out and saved and a paper bag, brown paper bag. If you don't have a brown paper bag, you could use kind of any color of construction paper if you have that, or even a piece of cardboard. I'm going to be using oil pastels today. And the reason I have this is I'm going to pick out some of my oil pastels from my big box, put them into here, and that way they are not going to roll off the table onto the floor where they can get stepped on. And it'll just kind of help me kind of keep things sort of in order. I've got a pair of scissors here, and I know you can do this. If you're a little nervous about that, find somebody who isn't, and they can help you cut. But for starts, we're going to take our paper bag. Oh, I forgot something. I'm Miss Therese. Welcome to Art with Miss Therese. And we're going to be doing a little kind of fun little project today, which I hope that you enjoy. So we're going to start. What I'm going to do on paper bags, here's the bottom part, like this. All right, and if you kind of fold it like this, and there's a crease there, you can take your scissors and you can just go right across here like that. A little trick is to cut maybe halfway, turn it, and maybe cut it halfway again. So I've got the bottom part cut off. It's not perfect, but it'll do. And then I'm going to kind of take the little handles. If you have handles, kind of pull those little things off. If I keep this down flat and pull away, there we go. I got some things now I can recycle. There is, I'm going to have a lot of paper with this, that's for sure. I'm just going to cut down this side following that crease, and this side. And I think I'm going to wind up with two pretty nice pieces of drawing paper. And maybe a little extra for later on. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep this extra. This is something you might want to do. I'm going to keep this extra piece, so in case I want to try a color out and I'm not sure how that color is going to turn out, I have sort of a little sample area there. So we're going to get started on today's project, and I'm not going to tell you what it is until we draw it. I'm starting out with my white oil pastel. You could use any oil pastel color that you want, but remember, I kind of prefer to use white because that way if you make a line that you don't like, you can always color over it. And at the end of this, I'm going to show you how to do a quick one in color crayon in case you don't have oil pastels. I've got a little bit of extra paper here in case I want to like try out some colors. And I also have a little container here, an old food container, and I'm going to put in here the oil pastels as I use them. And again, they're going to stay in here and they're not going to roll off the table, which can happen even to me, probably to me more often. Let's start out by doing a border like this. If you don't want to do a border, you don't have to. Notice I keep the heel of my hand down and pull just along those lines. That's going to help me have a straight line. You could use a ruler if you wanted. You could do a wiggly line. And what's nice about this is that if you ever wanted to frame this, the good parts will all be inside. Will all be inside your border, and you won't cover any of it up. I'm going to use my paper vertically. You can use your paper horizontally if you want, or if you have more of a square one, that's fine too. Just depends on how you cut it out. Notice it's kind of wrinkled, but I kind of like that because that'll give a little character to it. And also notice that I do have an extra piece of paper on my work surface to protect it, even though this is kind of my goofy old art table, which I can get anything on. If you're working on a surface that you want to take care of, please think about putting a piece of paper or something to protect it underneath what you're working on. Now, I'm going to go kind of in the middle, the upper middle part of my paper, and I'm going to do a little rectangle here, about that size, about a quarter. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, about a quarter of the page, just right in the middle there. Then I'm going to take a line, I'm going to pull this out, kind of curve it a little bit, and I'm going to curve it down almost, maybe about 3/4 of the way down. It's kind of fun. You know, math is a big part of art if you think about it. I'm not going to go all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to leave myself a little bit of space here. fair amount of space there. Then I'm going to come over on this side. I'm going to do the same kind of line. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to need to look for the seam here and peel this. There we go. You might occasionally want to peel your oil pastels so that you have the working surface there. Just going to put that right there. There we go. And I'm going to, here's my line there, I'm going to bring this line about 2/3 of the way down. There. That's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, about 2/3 down. And then I'm going to kind of come back in like this. There, just I'm going to leave that line there, just come in a little bit, and then I'm going to come down like this a little bit. And then I'm going to do some bumps, and then I'm going to slant this down like that. That's going to be the toe of my boot. I don't know if I mentioned, we're going to be doing a cowboy boot here today. Kind of fun. So there's my toe. I'm going to come along here. There's the sole of your boot, or like you have soles in your shoes. And then it kind of comes up like that. Oh my gosh, look what happened. My oil pastel broke. I'm going to put that in there, and I can still use this part. Like that. And I'm going to do my boot heel like that. So when you're drawing shoes or boots, it's always kind of fun to understand that the heel's going to lift the foot a little bit, and so it's going to come down like that. So this looks like it's kind of standing straight. I hope that's not too complicated. So then I'm going to come back up here where I had that, and that's going to be the bottom part of my boot, like that. When they make boots, they construct leather together, so the bottom part's kind of like a shoe, and then the side of your boot is another piece that they just sew on. Now, this is a cowboy boot from the side, and lots of times cowboy boots have some really fun, fancy designs. This is sort of a fancy cowboy boot. Like if you were in a rodeo and you were doing barrel racing or riding bulls, or just in the stands and want to look nice, you could design yourself some boots. I might even add some other designs on this. Lots of times they'll sew leather in like this. Just sort of have fun with your design. So that's kind of a basic boot. And now we're going to start coloring, which will be kind of cool. Let's see. I'm going to put this back in here. And remember, anytime you use something like, I'm going to show you this. If you use like an orange like this, if it's on a darker surface, if you have white underneath it, it's going to show up a little bit brighter. You can also, once you've put color in like this is a technique, you can also go over the color like that, and then you can blend it like this. And these are just sort of different techniques. I like to blend, but if you decide that you just want to keep the oil pastel with its, just how it looks like that, maybe try this again. That's another technique. It's all entirely up to you because you're the artist. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to do kind of a flame design on mine. You could do any kind of design on yours that you wanted. I'm going to color it in with the orange. But remember, you've got lots of colors to choose from. And the nice thing about, and I kind of move that aside there, the nice thing about using white again to outline is that if I didn't like what I just drawn, I could have drawn over it again and done a different kind of line. You can do any kind of design here that you would like. So I'm going to do it like that. And then I'm going to look for, I think I'm going to kind of have some fun. And I'm going to do sort of a contrasting color here. I'm going to bring in sort of a blue-green. But you could do black. You could have your design blue-green and the background could be orange. Notice what I'm doing here is I'm not going quite up to the edge quite yet. I'm leaving my white outline. And I'm going to do something a little bit different with that, but you could also go up to the edge if you want to. And again, we've done this before on videos. I like to turn my paper when I'm working because it gives me a lot of control. If you like to keep your paper in the same place, that's fine too. What you're going to find is as you do more and more drawing, as you practice, you're going to come up with your own techniques as to what works best for you. So I'm just going to color this in. Oh my gosh, I'm having fun with these colors. You'll notice that I am using my brush here to brush away the excess oil pastel. You could also just take another piece of paper like this and use that to kind of act as your brush, just kind of keep it that way. Or you could leave them on. It's entirely up to you. So I'm beginning to get my boot colored. By the way, these are like the little boot straps, so that when you put your cowboy boot on, these are kind of loops that are on either side of the boot, and you hook your fingers in those and just pull your boots on. Well, let's see, what should I do for that color? I'm going to make these boots pretty fancy. I think for the bottom part, I'm going to move that aside there so you can see a little bit better. I'm going to have some fun with some purple. Why not? And you'll notice with my techniques how I'm layering this in. You just kind of fill it in any way you want. You may have a different way to do it. Some people like to go a little bit lighter with their oil pastels. I'm going to stop right here and kind of show you. I could also just do it lightly like that and let some of the paper show through. I'm going to brush that aside for you. There. I have a tendency to go a little more solid, but there have been just beautiful results from students with a lighter touch. And for those bootstraps I was talking about, I'm going to make those purple too. These are going to be really colorful boots. And again, I left the white on this. I might do something a little bit different when we're done. And I could even come back in with the white, and I could do those wrinkles that are sometimes there in the leather in the boots. Just kind of emphasize those with a little bit of the white, just for fun. Now I've got my heel. I think I'm going to make that heel a nice, oh my gosh, look at, here's another oil pastel that kind of got broken a little bit. And I'm going to use that anyway. Put my paper there. And again, keep it in the container as I use them so they don't roll off the table. And let's see, I don't even know what color this is, so I'm going to look. Oh, that's kind of a dark purple. I think I'm going to do that for my heels. I sort of like that. So there's kind of your cowboy boot with your boot straps, the side of your boot or the calf, the shoe part of your boot. Hope I'm using the right terms, and your heel. There we go. And I'm going to put a sole or a base. You guys know what soles are in shoes. I'm going to put that on this to match up. I'm going to make this even down here. Match up with my heel. And then here's the trick I'm going to do. I've got this kind of basically like this. I'm going to come in and I'm going to use my finger to sort of blend that outline color like this. And again, I'm moving my paper. So I left the white, which is kind of fun because when I kind of blend it, look what happens. It almost makes that boot kind of glow a little bit. So I'm just gonna, and oh my gosh, you know, messy finger, but that's okay. It all washes off. So, and again, this is just kind of another fun way to do it. You might come up with something else. But sometimes when you do leave that white, you can get sort of a kind of a glow effect. And look, there was accidentally a little extra purple on my finger. Kind of gave me kind of a fun effect there. Here, like this. I'm going to kind of come up here. And the nice thing about oil pastels is I can always go back if I want to make that orange a little brighter. Come back, use my white, go back over those little areas there, like this. Just laying a little bit of white down there. Now I can come back in with my orange and brighten that back up again. If you like it a little less bright, that's fine too. I kind of like that accidental purple streak. It's kind of fun. So there is my kind of basic boot, and I could leave it like this, or I could color in the background. And I got to thinking, what if I broke that space up in the background? And I'm going to peel here again. There we go. That's the fun thing about oil pastels or color crayons. You can just kind of peel them down and keep working. My end is a little bit shaggy, so I'm going to use my spare piece of paper here, and I'm just going to kind of smooth that end out a little bit. And what I'm going to do here, this is called, we're going to break up our space. We're going to go kind of behind there, and I'm going to kind of put like a puzzle behind my boot, like that. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different spaces. And with that, I'm going to just come in with another color. I found some blue, and I'm going to just color these spaces in. You could add some designs in those spaces if you wanted. That back, brush it off. I can brush it off with this in case I didn't have a brush, or I can use my brush like that. And I'm going to find another color. Oh my gosh, how about this one? I love moving my paper around, by the way. And I'm going to come back with my white. And I'm going to have some fun with that white. I'm just going to kind of go over it like that, kind of roughly. Then I'm going to come back in and do that blending thing. You can also use an eraser to blend, the end of a pencil eraser to blend. Just remember that that eraser is going to probably hang on to that color. So if you go to erase, when you're drawing with your pencil, you might accidentally get some color. But look what happens when I put a little bit of white over it. I'm going to go ahead and work on the rest, and we'll catch up when I'm done. Is the cowboy boot, and I hope yours is spectacularly different than mine, but just so you have the kind of the same idea. I'm going to go back over a little bit of white just to kind of sort of lighten things up, and of course I'm going to put my initials. You know, I'm going to grab a pencil just in case here. I'm just going to put my initials down here. Not going to go over the oil pastel with pencil because that generally doesn't work. And the year, my initials in the year. And there we go. used oil pastels. And again, I have a little container here. Every time I used an oil pastel, I pulled it out and put it in here so it wouldn't try to escape onto the floor. I have a little extra piece of paper, the same kind I'm using here, just an old paper bag to kind of do a little test run on some of my colors. And our cowboy boot, just for fun. Worked on a few little oil pastel techniques here. And again, all of the colors and the design is all going to be up to you. And I'm sure yours is going to turn out absolutely spectacular. If you don't have oil pastels for this project, you can always use plain white paper and some color crayons. Maybe do a black outline instead of a white. And although we can't blend like we do with oil pastels, we've had a couple of lessons where we have used the color crayons and use them where you can just put colors on top of each other to kind of get the same kind of effect. I hope you enjoyed this, and I had a good time, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.